Hello everyone, Windy City Comic Books here. I thought about actually doing like a series to collect. People aren't really putting together full runs of like Amazing Spider-Man 1 through whatever, 300 or anything like that anymore. Or there's very few people, I would assume. But there's like a lot of series like, Secret Wars 1 through 12 and like Wolverine 1 through 4, back from the 80s, would be like an easy series to collect. It has some key books in there. But anyway, I thought about putting series together like that, like even Swamp Thing from the 70s, number 1 through 10, like Bernie Wrightson art does, in all those books. What is it? Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., number 1 through 7. Those would be, the Jim Steranko art and covers. But actually, really cool books. But I thought about like doing like short series like that, little collections that are easier to obtain than like main runs. The first one actually I was thinking about doing was, or I am doing, is Crisis on Infinite Earths. This was published by DC in 1985 to 1986. There's just 12 issues. There's a crossover storyline, like tie-in books. So there's a number of issues that came out like the same months as these that would actually tie into the series. And it was written by Marv Wolfman and art by George Perez. And George Perez is a fantastic artist. Or at least I love him. Let me see. Crisis, I'm actually quoting here. Crisis is considered by many to be one of the most important and most influential comic book storylines of all time. So actually, if you haven't read this storyline, you actually really should grab the books. They're very affordable, and there's actually a lot of key books in there. So it's fun. It's great because it's got like great art. It's very influential, great storyline of all time, key books, and affordable. So let me see. Okay, so basically the reason these books came out was DC was trying to simplify its 50-year-old narrative, or at least actually 50-year-old back in the 80s. So what is that, another like 40 years on there? So like 90 years. But you had like issues, excuse me, issues like there's problems with the age of some of the characters, like Batman. He had fought in World War II and was a hero in World War II. And 90 years later, he's still kicking, fighting crime. Robin, who actually took 30 years in real time to graduate from high school. Like these books are supposed to like help fix some of these problems. And they also had problems with a lot of the main characters with like different origins and different powers and different storylines for these characters like over time, like including the Flash and the Atom and Green Lantern. But anyway, let's get into the books really quick and just kind of bust through these. The first issue, it actually has a wraparound cover, and I should have taken it out for this, but it's a spectacular first issue. It actually has a first appearance of Blue Beetle and Detective Carp in DC Comics, and also, like I said, it has a wraparound cover. But anyway, that's the first issue. Number 2. This wasn't a key book or anything like that, but okay. I bought all these like off the rack back in the 80s. Just kind of held on to them. Number 3, again, not a key book at all. And I really love like how George Perez, like how intricate and how many details and how many characters like he puts in some of these covers. I mean, actually, this is kind of cool too because you got all kinds of DC characters, including you have the Haunted Tank, Sergeant Rock is there, mixed in with all the superheroes, which you really don't see. Okay, number 4. This is actually has the death of the Monitor, who is a villain. I think he was introduced with Teen Titans. I've always been a Marvel guy, but collected DC books too. But I read the Marvels. I didn't really read a lot of DCs. Alright, what do we got here? Number 5. Again, not a key book. But again, George Perez drawing tons and tons of faces on this cover. But yeah, he just like all these books, he's just got so many details and so many different characters and like the covers and the stories. And number 6, I'm sorry. So picture of the Monitor up there. Villain. Not a key book, but key for this series. Number 7, you have the death of Supergirl. which is again a great classic cover. And like having like every DC character, you know, like in the backgrounds and stuff. Oh my gosh, this must have been a pain in the butt to draw all these people. But yeah, great cover. Okay, number 8, this is another key book. It's The Death of Barry Allen, or The Flash. He actually dies in this book. But number 7 and 8, I think, are the two big keys. And maybe number 1, just because that's got the first appearance of Blue Beetle as a DC character. Alright, what is this? Number 9. Again, George Perez with all those characters. Very busy covers. It reminds me of that Golden Age artist. Is it Alex Schomburg or something like that? Who drew all the like the Flash and Submariner and all that stuff. It's like had totally busy covers, so much going on. Alright, this is number 10. And this is actually Death of Starman, who I don't know who Starman is, but I know who the Spectre is. Alright, this is number 11. This is a non-key. I mean, no deaths or first appearances or anything like that. And this is number 12, the last of the issues. It actually has a few things that make this a key book. It's got The Death of the Dove. Who, again, who is that? I don't know. I can tell you who Superman and Batman are, but not the Dove. When Wally West actually becomes the new Flash in this issue. But there's a ton of characters that die in these issues, including like the Anti-Monitor, who actually, well, I mentioned that already, Aquagirl, Clayface, Green Arrow. He dies in Earth number 2. The Losers, which is actually really interesting too, like I was saying with the war books. You know, the Losers was actually a comic book by the DC, who was like, you know, World War II fighters, kind of like, you know, Sergeant Rock and the Haunted Tank and all that stuff, GI Combat. But it's just kind of interesting, like how they incorporated all these characters together. Nighthawk dies in this series. Robin dies in Earth 2. Starman, like I said, dies. Sunburst, all these characters. But actually, it's a highly recommended series. Again, it's affordable if you can pick up the issues. Great artwork. A lot of good stuff about this series. But hopefully you'll check it out on my recommendation. If you do, leave a comment below. Thanks for joining me, Windy City Comic Books.